You won't believe how much people have the misunderstanding of gurus in Bharat. This is so unbelievable. There are people who have no sense of understanding of our culture and they comment on our gurus without having the experience of their presence. Their only source of truth is the YouTube videos. The man whose interview I'm going to show you now couldn't count 3 enlightened men in Bharat. Let's watch.
What do you think, what is your opinion of Sadhguru and why?
I think whatever he's sharing and teaching people will never lead them towards enlightenment.
Do you see a contemporary live example of someone who you think is truly awakened and enlightened? And I want to think of someone who is well known in the media, right? Do you also know of this person, and can you make this assertion for the other person also that they are indeed taking people on the right path?
So there are people like Eckhart Tolle. There are people like Muji. There are people like Andrew Cohen. They come from the experiential knowing of it than just scholarly study of it. Many more people are there. Rupert Spira is there. I mean, actually not many more.
Any Indian guru that you can think of? These are all names which are not Indian.
So, honestly, no Indian guru seems to be very popular who's actually also enlightened in my perspective.
So Krishna, Kabir, Meera, Mahavira, and the entire lineage of Paramahansa Yogananda, Swami Vivekananda, Neem Karoli Baba, Anand Mahima, nobody is enlightened, but you are, right? And your purpose is to help people. So may I ask, what are you doing about that? Oh, sorry, you're too enlightened for that. Perhaps these textbook intellectuals don't really know much about it. This is the land of enlightened beings. People from all over the world come to India to gain spiritual knowledge, and you can't count 3 enlightened masters here. Mark Twain once said that anything that could be done by the gods or human beings is already done in India. So why trash talk about Sadhguru? Maybe because he is living and is a threat to your entire existence. He doesn't adhere to your sense of Western clothing, shirts and pants. Perhaps these English educated men have not understood the real India because they're still living in the Greenwich Mean Time. The Britishers left but took their mind with them. So this man who is claiming to be a mystic and in the same breath is unacceptable of anything that's beyond logic. Do you know the meaning of mysticism? Basically the knowledge that's inaccessible to the intellect. And you are trying to understand Sadhguru through intellect only? So there are 4 parts of the mind. Buddhi, the intellect. Manas, a huge silo of memory. Ahankar, the sense of identity. Chitta, the cosmic intelligence. So talking about Buddhi or the intellect cannot function without a certain bank of memory or data. Depending on the data you have, the intellect plays around. Suppose in your memory system there are 10 gigabytes of memory. Depending on how sharp your Buddhi is, one person can produce, let's say, 1 trillion thoughts with these 10 gigabytes. Someone else may produce 10 trillion thoughts with the same 10 gigabytes of memory. If you can think a little better than someone else, it is considered as intelligence only. If someone says one thing and you can say 10 things to that, you may be socially smart, but you are not any more intelligent. Unfortunately, in today's system of education and academics, everything is determined by this. If you can make more things out of it, you are considered intelligent, which is not true. You only have a sharper buddhi. The buddhi will not take you beyond limits in any way, because it can only function based on the data that is already there. It is not capable of accessing anything beyond that. And to understand Sadhguru, you need to transcend your present limitations. No wonder you don't get him. Everything else is fine. Just stop calling yourself a mystic. So, in one of the instances, these colonized mindsets are openly trash talking about Sadhguru, makes fun of his past life experiences, and calls them dash.
Wombs in the last life. Now that's, I don't want to use the word.
Right,
But that's dash.
Yeah.
Are you saying you planted people in other wombs? Really?
In the previous life.
In the previous life? and then the purpose for which you planted them, none of them came to this life and were able to fulfill that purpose. You found them incompetent for it. Are you serious? But no enlightened teacher will tell you to get dependent on external products and things, then to seek the truth within.
So nobody's being manipulated to buy this. For example, we saw this on the website. They have tens of thousands worth and maybe some things in lakhs of consecrated statues and yantras, copper ones and whatnot. There is a plate which has the impression of Sadhguru's footprint, which is the most shocking one to me personally. Now, claiming that something is consecrated, claiming that something is blessed, and claiming that if you do this if you do arti or some other version of a ritual, that will take you to better life. If that is happening, is that proof that this person is here to make money?
Sadhguru consistently emphasizes moving beyond all identifications and opinions. He challenges you to drop your ragdoll personality and not replace it with a new one. He talks about becoming unsettled and not settling into a new cocoon. He even acknowledges that intellectual understanding can be a barrier if it leads to stupid conclusions. Rings a bell? His teachings are about dissolving the very idea of you as a separate, limited entity. As for yantras and pendants, yes, he talks about them, but not as something to be dependent on in a manipulative way. He explains that things like Rudraksh creates an energetic cocoon for protection. To support your own sadhana, he even pointedly doesn't wear Rudraksh himself to avoid giving the impression that external symbols are what makes you spiritual. He clarifies that consecration and forms like Dhyanalinga are tools to create conducive energetic atmosphere for inner experience, not something to simply acquire for material gain. The purpose is to hasten the spiritual process, not replace it. And the most baffling part, dismissing his experiences like past lives or planting people in wombs as dash. Let me tell you, Sadhguru Sri Brahma knew that he did not have much time. He knew that because of certain karmic limitations, he would have to leave his body within the next 2 years. So he sat with his disciple and plotted how to make Dhyanalinga happen in the next life. Many things were decided there. Who should be involved in the consecration process, where they should be born, in which womb, and how, at what time. They plotted everything. Sadhguru Sri Brahma even decided what kind of person he should be born as, how his physical body and state of mind should be. Everything was created right there. The fundamental blueprint of Dhyanalinga was made in the Kadapa temple. Now you shouldn't believe all these things, but disbelieving them would also be stupid. He speaks about these complex mystical realities in Mystic's musings, not as jokes, but as profound aspects of existence and spiritual mastery. He acknowledges how unbelievable they may sound to a logical mind, but he presents them as truth, based on his own direct experience. To reduce that to dash speaks more about the accuser's own limited understanding and disrespect for the unseen than it does about Sadhguru. So why make this video? Not to convince anyone. My aim isn't to start a debate or to engage in negativity. It's simply to share my truth, my experience. And when you've seen and felt the profound transformation in your own life and witnessed it in countless others, these kinds of comments just lose their power. They become irrelevant. If you're genuinely seeking, I encourage you to look beyond the noise. Don't base your understanding on what someone else says, especially when it's filled with such negativity. Explore for yourself. Be open. Because as Sadhguru says, the complexities that one encounters on the spiritual path are not of the path. The complexities are only there because of the mess that is your mind.